Hi, good morning. I hope you're having the best morning ever already. This is DBS This Morning. I'm your host, Candy, and today we have a very fascinating interview lined up for you. But first, as usual, we're going to go to the news desk and wake you up in the know.
Good morning. Prime Minister Philip Pierre says a regional solution is what is needed to address the problems plaguing intra-regional travel.
The tourism minister made the point that government should consider reduction of taxes. Again, these are issues that I think we should approach them regionally. Whether, you may recall when the last government imposed the airport departure tax, when they increased it, when the last government increased it, we were of the view that may have done something to travel. The statistics say that the more taxes are disincentive to travel. But in this business of fiscal issues, fiscal deficits, fiscal problems, there's a need for social expenditure, need for expenditure on education. Governments have to look for ways where they can collect money. And unfortunately, collecting money on airlines are the easiest way. It's a very easy way to get revenue. Bad ticket you pay. Very easy way. But the idea of reducing the tax is something that can be considered. St. Lucia has not taken a position in this regard.
At a recent CARICOM Heads of Government retreat in Dominica, leaders discussed various challenges with regional travel, including recent disruptions that left travelers stranded across the island chain. These are your top stories. Thanks for watching.
When we come back, we are going to have a two-part interview with Lavonne Mitchell. Some of you may know her off Instagram as the Undertake Her. That's HER, and she's a young lady who's been a mortician for the past 10 years. So we will have the most fascinating conversation with her about life and death. Stick with us. Welcome back to DBS This Morning. My name is Candy. If you're just joining us, welcome. You're about to experience one of the most fascinating interviews that I've ever done in my career. I speak with Lavonne Mitchell. She is a mortician. Let's hear what she has to say. Hi, and welcome back to DBS This Morning. So this morning we're going to explore a very different topic. We're going to have a conversation with a mortician. Her name is Lavonne Mitchell, and she's been doing this for the past 10 years. And I'm quite fascinated with the fact that a young lady would choose this as a profession and seem very happy in it. And to a certain extent, I think glamorize it in a good way, that she glamorizes what she does, literally and figuratively, because it's not something that I realized that young people, especially young ladies, wanted to get into until I mentioned to a friend of mine that I was interviewing you, and she said, yeah, that's what my niece wanted to do until she decided on something else. So I'm quite fascinated about your fascination with what you do. And a mortician, let's define what a mortician is for those who may not know. They probably know what you do but don't know what it's called. So what is a mortician?
Okay, so a mortician basically does preparation and everything in regards to a deceased. So you do like preparation, you do embalming and facial reconstructing, makeup, and so much so that everything entailed with preparation. That's what a mortician would do. And
so preparation of a dead body for a funeral, or
Yes.
does it have to be for a funeral? Could it just be, because not everybody has a funeral, I've realized lately. So you just get the person ready for burial, or
Right.
And do people get bodies ready well, yes, I guess they do, because sometimes they show the body. I was thinking about
when they're being cremated.
when they're being cremated, but
Yes,
I
they
suppose
do.
you still have to get them
Yes.
ready. Why did you choose to get into this?
I would normally say I didn't choose to get into it. I would say the field chose me. Being that I studied business And I don't know, for some reason I applied for so many jobs and I didn't get any, to the point where I got a job, well, the job offer from my aunt. And that's when it started. So I left SAF and I jumped right into it. It's not something that I liked when I just started doing it, but with due time I started having a passion for it, I would say.
And you studied business, and it's a good business to get into because people are dying every day.
I must say,
so,
for sure.
So you're never going to be out of business
At all.
And you referenced your aunt, who, for those who don't know, she's part of a well-known name. And I mean, we don't have many, but everybody's heard the name Crick's Funeral Home.
Yes.
So she's part of that family. Yeah. So, getting into it, is there anything you had to study? Like, did you learn on the job? Is it something that you have to study? What's the road to becoming a mortician? What does that look like?
Well, most of the role, or I would say most of the experience, like to get into it, you need a lot of experience. So that's where you start. So you start off by getting experience, and then
So you
after-
shadow another mortician and watch what they do.
Right,
Okay.
right. And then eventually you start by practicing as well. And then you would pursue your education if you would like to in that field. I've done the introduction into mortuary science, and I definitely do plan on pursuing my education a little further in that field because I grow to like it. Yeah.
So the first time you ever had to be present in the room with a dead person, what is that like? What was that like? What were you thinking? What was going through your head? Because we grow up learning to fear the dead, maybe
Yes.
because of the things we see on TV, or maybe because we don't know what happens after you move on. So
Yes.
for a lot of reasons, we grow up fearing dead people. But someone said to me once, which I thought was very profound, that we shouldn't be scared of dead people. We should be more afraid of the people who are alive.
Yes, I get that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. So my first experience was very raw, I would say.
Very raw.
Yes.
How so?
It was a postmortem.
Oh.
So like everything was just open.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Just so raw.
And
I didn't get like a regular body, just an ordinary person that died of natural cause. I got a postmortem. So like everything, the guts, everything was just out there.
Wow.
And they instructed me to sew the body up. Yeah. And I was like,
How
It
does that
doesn't-
impact you mentally? I mean, I'm sure you're used to it by now and you like it and you now see it as a job, which it is. But how does that impact you? Because that's somebody's mom or dad or brother or sister. And emotionally, how do you deal with that?
Emotionally, I would say like it has, well, in that aspect, I would say it changed my personality. Like I become way softer, I should say. Like I become more gentle. But I don't know, for some reason, like when I do a preparation or if I see a dead person, I don't feel no type of way, I should say. Like there's no emotions attached to it. I'm not sure why. So that's why I feel like sometimes maybe I had to be in that field for that reason, because there's no emotional connection.
So how has your proximity to death all the time affected how you live and how you advise people to live?
My favorite quote is YOLO. You only live once, so I always tell people like enjoy every moment, but and appreciate their loved ones, especially because a lot of people share their experience. They say like 1 minute the person was there and the next minute the person just dropped, or you wake up and you're having breakfast and they get people dead like while having breakfast. So I always say to them, appreciate the people around them and try not to like. One thing I know for sure, I don't let a lot of things get to me. So even if I'm upset about something, like that's it. So maybe in the next 5 minutes I'll overcome it and move on. Yeah.
So part of your job is, preparing, as you just spoke to, having to sew someone up who's,
Yeah, I
for
felt
better
so
word,
weak.
guts were spilled all over the place. But sometimes when our loved ones die, we want our final image of them to be as close to what they looked like when they were alive, right? So
Yes.
how do you ensure that you do that to the best of your ability?
Well, I would say that's my strength.
Really?
That's my strength. Bringing them back to even looking better than how they would look when they were alive.
Oh, wow.
Yes, reconstructing as well is my strength.
Uh-huh.
Because I really, really love, and I would love for everybody to see their deceased loved ones, especially in trauma cases or accidents where they face like need some reconstructing. So I always try my best to get these people back to looking how they were. So I would say that's my strength. And I normally go with a photo of the deceased.
So you have something to work with?
So yes, a replica, and I basically recreate that whole look.
Wow.
So for the men, if they normally leave their mustache or I go ahead and do it the exact same way.
Oh, wow.
Because the moment you do something different, then people would say it doesn't look like him.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you normally put your hair on the side, that's how we do it.
Wow.
Yeah, so we try to stick to what the people would like.
Would look like, because
Yeah.
this is the last time. Like,
Yeah.
my mom passed in 2018, and when she was being buried, I'm thinking this is literally the last time I'm going to see her and see her body. But when we come back, I want to talk about a few more things. We typically don't do two-part interviews, but I'm so fascinated with this, so we're going to be right back with Lavonne.
Nice.
So Lavonne is still here with us, and apparently so are you. Welcome back. Lavonne Mitchell is a mortician. If you're just joining us, let us do a part 2 of our conversation with her. This conversation was so fascinating, we had to keep it going. And welcome back to DBS This Morning. My name is Candy. We're being joined today by Lavonne Mitchell. She's a mortician, and we've been talking to her, but I wanted to continue the conversation. So if you're just joining us, welcome. It is a sensitive topic, so be aware of that. But for me, it's just, death is a part of life. We all will die one day. So, the more we can get comfortable with that idea, I think the better lives we'd lead. Before we went to break, I was talking about my mom passing, and you were talking about your strength being reconstruction and making the person look as close to or even better than what they looked like while they were alive. What can you say to people who have to interact with the bodies of their loved ones who've just died? So for instance, when my mom passed, and I'm from Sufra,
Yes.
when I was called, I drove down. I'm like, don't move her until I get there. And she was laying in her bed. Looks like, she wasn't well, went to lie down and passed very suddenly.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Yeah. And it was very hard. And then, there were fluids coming out of her, which I took to mean, oh, she's still alive. And I literally sat on her and was shaking her to wake her up. Now, of course, I was very distressed. But then, when you calm down and you start thinking more logically, you realize that there are certain things that happen after someone passes. So what can you say to people who may encounter the dead body of their loved ones about what they will see, what they can expect? If there are bubbles coming out, I took it to mean, oh, she's still breathing, guys, call the ambulance. But what can you say to help prepare people to deal with that if they ever have to encounter that?
Well, what I would say is that it all depends on the cause of death. So your cause of death would determine that, and it depends on movements. Sometimes we believe that because the person died, that if we shift them, the fluids or certain things wouldn't come out. But when you die, your body's still releasing body fluids. So you would.
So I learned the hard way.
So you would still experience that, but the main thing is the cause of death. So if it's a case where she had fluids or in her body and stuff, you would tend to see that. And some people who suffer like heart attack, they kind of get a seizure.
So even after they've died, they can still shake?
No, like during the process.
Oh, uh-huh.
Right. It may not show like, physically like the body shaking and thing, but because your heart needs oxygen. It's a lot of science to it. So in cases like a heart attack and stuff, like the pump, like your oxygen and these things, they're not. So your heart looking for something that's not there. So you might just end up getting a fix. Some people vomit. Some
Even
people,
after they die?
No,
Oh, you're
like,
talking about during the process. Yes.
So you would see
Okay.
these things. It may not show up, but the moment you shift, it might just.
Ah,
Yes.
okay,
So
got
all
it.
of it because they're lying down. So all of it might just be in there.
After you move them.
So
after
once
they
you
die.
shift them, then you might see it coming up.
Ah.
Yes.
Oh my God. What are some of the scariest things that have happened? If you call them scary, because everything's relative. I may find it scary, and for you, it may just be, yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, bring me a coffee, and But what are some of the things that have happened in your 10-year experience as a mortician that made you jump a little? Anything?
Honestly, nothing.
What?
Nothing. I don't know, for some reason. Maybe before, because my father gave me a lot of stories. My father is a mortician as well.
Ah, okay.
Yes. So my father gave me a lot of stories. Like, you would hear certain things. It's just that one thing I experienced. Sometimes there's a door, like every minute it would just open.
Okay.
And that's the door you have to pull, and that's the thing at the top. So I was like, but nothing superstitious or anything. Or some funerals you get where it's difficult, like a difficult funeral. So that day you would have a lot of challenges. So you're just having a little problem, or like just little challenges, but
So-
nothing so superstitious.
So what do you do to take care of your, because it must be mentally draining sometimes to be around, although it sounds like it isn't for you, but is that because there are things you do to manage yourself, your mind, your heart, your everything, so you don't get too shaken or rattled by what you're experiencing? No.
I
So it's
don't
just
know.
like every day.
I
It's
don't
just
do-
like
yeah,
going to
I just go to work, and then I go at my home. If I don't do a funeral for the day, I just leave after. And for like, I don't know, for some reason, like we had 3 funerals today, and I left. I forget the names, I forget the face, I forget everything, like what they look like.
Oh wow. So
I
you're
literally
able
don't
to
have a memory.
separate.
I don't
Yeah.
know, for some reason, like how my body just adapts to that.
Wow.
Yeah, so I literally never remember the people's faces, their names, nothing. Unless I see a photo of them again, and then I'll be like, oh.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I sleep properly, I eat properly, I have no difficulties at all.
Wow.
Nothing.
What would you say to someone who wants to get into that profession? Because you're very popular on social media.
Yes, I am.
And so follow her on Instagram.
Yes.
Like and follow, subscribe.
And they take her.
Yes. Oh, that's clever. And to take her. Yeah. And I'm sure that because of the awareness you're bringing to this profession, there are people who are now thinking about it as a possibility for them. So what would you say to someone who wants to get into this?
They should. It's different, and it's not so scary like people say it is. And it's a very interesting field. So you learn something different every day. And yeah, they should. They should.
And how old do you have to be? Like, what are the requirements to get into this profession?
There's basically no requirements, to be honest. I would say, because it's a learning process. So you start like any other job. It may not be the field you want to go to, but if you want something different and you want change, you could start off and learn like I did, because I went there with no experience.
Wow. What do you think are some of the reasons? Because people seem to be very, very fascinated with watching the obituaries. So whatever business establishment you go into, you see people watching the obituaries as if it's a soap opera. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think it keeps them up.
Updated?
Yeah,
as
to who's deceased and who's not. Because a lot of people, like, if you don't watch the obituaries, you wouldn't know somebody died, and people die so fast and
true.
sudden. So like when they watch the obituaries, they go like, Mate Samun Samo, you know?
Because sometimes
Yes.
when I happen to be in a place where it's on, I'm like, oh, I know that person. Oh, I know
Yeah.
that person. Oh, this person is from Super. Oh, I remember
Yes.
interacting with this person.
Yes.
So it's true. It's true. Yep.
So I think that's why.
Okay. Well, on that note, we will wrap up. It has been an absolute pleasure talking with you, and it was so lovely meeting you. Mwah.
She's not even afraid to hug
Oh
me.
no, there you go. And we will be right back. This is DBS This Morning. I hope we can talk again sometime soon.
Definitely. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be back. Hi, I'm Candy Nicholas, and this is the Wellnest. We recently spoke about gut health, and I wanted to expound on some of the things we can do to ensure that we are helping and not hurting our gut health. As we discussed, your gut or digestive system is necessary for the consumption and digestion of food and the production of waste, making it one of the most vital organs in the human body. Recently, research has found that your digestive system is much more intricate than originally thought and is involved in nearly every single aspects of your health. If you've ever experienced reflux, constipation, diarrhea, or bloating, you will understand the impact that gut health can play in your day-to-day life. The gut microbiome refers to the trillions of microorganisms that live inside your gut, mostly in the large intestine. There are roughly 100 trillion bacteria in the digestive system alone. It may seem like a tall order to change or look after them, but the good news is that research has shown that within 2 to 4 days of eating well, your gut microbiome can improve. So here are some things you can start to implement almost immediately. The first one is to include fermented foods in your diet regularly. So fermented foods are full of naturally occurring live cultures. While the science has not yet concluded exactly how much fermented food you should eat, I recommend aiming to eat a source of authentically fermented foods or drinks every single day if possible to help support digestion, whether that's enjoying some yogurt with live and active cultures for breakfast or sipping on a kombucha at lunch or adding a tablespoon of sauerkraut to your salad. The second thing you can do is to increase the variety of plant foods in your diet. A high fiber diet is associated with an increase in the growth of beneficial bacteria, which optimizes gut functioning. As different plants contain different amounts and types of fiber, it's important to consume a range of plant foods to ensure your good gut bacteria are kept happy and nourished. Another thing you could do is drink more water. Fiber, particularly prebiotic fibers, are important for gut health. However, in order for this fiber to do its job, adequate water is required. A lack of water can slow down your digestive system significantly and result in harder stools that are more difficult to pass. For optimal hydration, men should aim for 2.6 liters a day and women for 2.1. Something else you can do is to, as we discussed, enjoy more high fiber foods. A diet low in fiber can encourage the wrong types of bacteria to grow, throwing off your gut's ecosystem. Think of your good gut bacteria as the trees and flowers in our ecosystem, and the bad gut bacteria as the weeds. If you can create an environment that allows the weeds to grow, it will overgrow the trees and flowers. The fifth thing you could do is to chew more slowly. Digestion begins in the mouth, and the chewing process starts to break your food down. If you rush this, your food may enter your stomach before it's ready, leading to indigestion. By eating slowly and chewing properly, you will also allow your natural satiety signals to kick in, which tell you that you're full. This prevents overeating and has also been associated with better digestion and greater satisfaction with our meals. So try eating more slowly and more mindfully by removing distractions, pausing between bites to savor what's in your mouth, and setting aside adequate time to eat so you don't rush. So the sixth thing, and I know this is a culture where we love our alcohol, but we need to try to limit alcohol because it can throw off the balance of your intestinal ecosystem. If you consume alcohol, make sure you do so in moderation. That's maximum 1 to 2 standard drinks on any day according to guidelines. Number 7, don't go low carb. Now, I know that this is the latest trend, going keto, but whilst low carb might be a popular trend on your Instagram feed, you'll also be cutting down the fiber needed for good gut health. Instead of cutting all carbs, you need to focus on consuming healthy carbohydrates such as brown rice, quinoa, oats, whole grains, maybe even whole grain bread if you're going to have bread, and pasta, as well as all of our wonderful root vegetables that are widely available to us. Something else that nobody ever thinks of, or not enough people think of, is getting enough sleep. So while getting more sleep might seem like a no-brainer for overall health, research suggests that getting a good night's sleep is essential for a healthy gut. Our gut bacteria have their own circadian rhythms, just like all other organisms, and inadequate sleep can disrupt this rhythm in the microbiome and negatively influence the diversity and number of bacteria in the gut. Most of us need around 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night, and even if you think you can function perfectly fine on less, your gut bugs might think otherwise. So something else you need to consider, I need to consider, is to manage stress better. You don't need us to tell you that stress is not good for you. Prolonged stress can cause major issues for a number of the body's key players, including our digestive system. When we're stressed, our body is set to fight or flight mode and will reduce the blood flow to our digestive muscles and put everything on hold. There's reduced secretion of digestive enzymes, which may lead to indigestion, gastrointestinal inflammation, constipation, or diarrhea. So try reducing stress by spending more time outdoors, including exercise, which you should enjoy every day, reducing your screen time, and trying meditation, yoga, or whatever other activities you find relaxing. And this has been the Wellness for today. My name is Candy Nicholas. I am a certified holistic health coach, and I will see you next time. Bye.
This has been DBS This Morning. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had the most amazing time. The topic we discussed today, some may think of it as macabre and morose, but I found it fascinating, and I hope you did too. This has been DBS This Morning. I'm Candy. See you next time. Bye.